and welcome to the Dressage Anywhere podcast. This is the second part of our interview with Dr. Di, where we find out more about all the King's horses and chat about the importance of the horse and rider partnership. Enjoy.
The thing is you can sort stuff out, can't you? Like, so I'm really, really lucky. Like, I've just been sponsored by a proper sports psychologist.
I wanted to ask you all about that.
It's amazing. I've had my first go with her. She says I'm not a psychopath. I did say to her at the beginning, if I'm a psychopath, just tell me gently at the end. Like, no, lovely. She's a lady called Tracy Cole. And I did go to her before for hypnotherapy once, actually, because I was really scared of getting back on after the surgery. And it was super. Anyway, she's just offered to sponsor me. So I've had the first one where you have a bit of a chat. So I'm like, well, you can do something, but maybe actually you just don't want to do hacking. Like, why can't we just do the things we enjoy with the horses? Why do we have to have this? You have to do this. You know, I have got to come to the conclusion nowadays that these are posh cows. We might put them in rugs. We might put plaits in their hair, but they are essentially cows. And, you know, we put so much pressure on ourselves. Like I have with Bamba all the time, like that horse is wasted. She's wasted with me. Her father is Jalisco. She should be doing this. She should be doing that. She does not give one shit of an iota. She's warm, and you know what? And you give her a carrot, she doesn't care. But I have tormented myself over that horse. Yeah, tormented. But I'm not. I've just made a decision. I'm not tormenting myself anymore. Like, you know, I'm going to do the stuff that I enjoy with her, with all of them. Even though my goals are obviously to ride for Team GB. But I'm not going to, I've got to be enjoying it, because otherwise what's the point? You see so many people on yards and stuff and they clearly hate it, but they feel like they should do this, they should do that, because they get all this pressure put on them. Why should they? Yeah. It's okay. You know, if you want to be that person that stands there and actually just enjoys your horse on the ground, who cares? Because do you know what? Your horse doesn't. No, it absolutely doesn't. It's probably quite relieved. Yeah. Oh, thank Christ, she's given up dressage. That's it. Haven't got to go through that flicky toe again ever. But do you know what I mean? So it's but I wouldn't. Yeah, don't give yourself a hard time. No,
I absolutely agree with you that, you know, we do. As riders, we do put a lot of pressure on ourselves about what we should be doing and what other people are doing, and we should do what they've done. And, you know, this horse has amazing breeding, so I've got to do it justice or whatever. But like you say, they don't know and they don't care. They don't care.
They really don't care. And the other thing I think that I have said to, I've just observed, I've got some really good friends that are really, really good riders, you know, but at the end of the day, it's a hobby. Yeah. And I had to say that to my friend once, and I won't name her, but she'll know as soon as she listens to this. But she was so stressed, like, you know, so stressed all the time. Everything was stressy. And it was just like, do you know what? This is your bloody hobby. Yeah, yeah. It's your hobby. Like, it's okay to want to do well, but it's got to stay healthy, hasn't it? It's got to stay where actually you enjoy it, because otherwise you're putting a lot of money and a lot of time into something that just effectively makes you really miserable. No, like, why? And also, that's the other thing I've noticed, and I've really noticed this in dressage, and that's probably because I've never really been around any of the real kind of disciplines as looking as somebody that's coming as a competitive rider. And something that I talked about with Tracy, that I actually probably need to become competitive. Like, I'm competitive with myself. Yeah. And when I go in with my horse and I'm ride a test, I want us to do our best. Like, I am really anal in the prep. Like, my horses are gleaming all the time and they look beautiful. I look as smart as I possibly could look. And, you know, to me, that's really important that we do the absolute best I can. But I'm never going to be that person that comes out and thinks, "Guy, I hope you fall off. I hope your horse spooks in a minute because I've got 1.1 more than you." Like, I don't understand in horses. Like, if you're racing, then I would be a bit more cutthroat about, come on, but I still wouldn't want somebody to, like, but I find when the discipline is actually just you and the horse, that competitiveness is just you go in and you do your absolute best. So I find it very difficult. It's one of the things I've spoke to Tracy about, actually. It's one of the things I find most difficult about it as a sport and coming in as a competitive rider now, because once lockdown's done and whatever, I'm going to be an actual competitive, as in I should have a chance of starting to win some stuff. So that's the bit I find a bit daunting, if I'm honest. It's the people. And also, like, if it's the pros, like, if your income depends on you riding well, if this and whatever, then I totally understand it. But I just find it really difficult to understand when it's your Saturday afternoon hobby.
Yeah.
Is that, I don't know whether I'm just not competitive enough. I don't know. I just find it's very...
I think I'm with you on that. I mean, I competed for quite a long time with my pony, but we've not been out for a couple of years. We do the odd training test on dressage anywhere. But, you know, life got busy and it's funny actually, because I think I got quite, like you were saying about your friend, I took it very seriously and I got quite stressed about it. You know, we're never going to get anywhere. We're never going to be able to, you know, why won't you go in and outline all the time? And it kind of, it removed the fun element of it. So I stopped. He got a bit poorly, so it was good to stop going out. And we haven't been out since. And actually I enjoy him more now, you know, just pottering around the arena for 30 minutes or, you know, doing a bit of in-hand work or long reining or something, or trotting over some poles. I get more out of that than... I don't know.
That's what COVID's done as well. I think speaking to a lot of people, it's been a massive reset button, and I think it's been a reset button just generally in life. Like,
it has,
people are more aware of family, they're more aware of their friends, they're more aware of where their time's going. You know, you started to see people that would normally shove children in front of an iPad, that families were sitting around and playing a board game. You know, just there is always things that, I mean, whenever any other time in the 20th century or 21st century, whatever we are, would you ever have stopped everything like that? And allowed society to reset? You just never would have done.
No.
And I think people do spend more time, and I know that a lot of people at work have said stuff like, "Oh, it's board game Saturday," or the kids are a lot of things that people are doing are like their kids are cooking, so they have like a bit of a master chef off with the kids over a month on a Friday night or whatever. But all these things that they never would have done before. And I think, do you know what? I think the horses, I think they benefited from the reset. I think the riders did as well, and the pro riders. I think everybody actually benefited. I know not financially, but from being able to actually stop and go, right, okay, I'm going to spend this time with my horse, and I've not got to think about next week's competition or next week's test. I'm just going to think about me and them, and we're going to go I know like my sister's got an amazing like little herd of halflingers, and she hated hacking. But because she couldn't get to anything, she's like the hacking queen. Every weekend. I've been off for 5.5 hours here. I've done this. I was just like, you hate hacking. She's like, no, I'm the hacking queen. You know, the saddle saver.
Yes.
Mum doesn't get sore. She's all over it, with a high vis.
That's what I need to do. I need to be banned from the arena, so I've got no other choice to go hacking.
Go out and enjoy. But there's always that element, isn't there, of, though, you know, something can always go wrong. But I think, again, like, don't push yourself. Like, if you don't feel like doing it, why do you need to? Like, if you had to do it because your horse has got to have its legs on some bloody hard ground or toughen them up or whatever you're doing, then you probably find you could do it then because you had to.
Probably. But he's 20. I'm not
so you really don't need
we don't need to.
I worry a bit about that with Win, that I'm not doing it and I'm tied out. Like, I should have been at Talland. I had a cry yesterday for the first time. No. I know, because I should have been going down to Talland tomorrow, and I can't go because I worked the shift, and I didn't want to say, well, you can't go because you can't travel between the risk areas and whatever. But I would have been 7 days clear of being in the hospital because I'm aware I'm higher risk than the normal person. And because I had to go in and help out, I knew that I'd been working in COVID. And so I just had to say, look, I don't want to, touch a saddle inadvertently. I mean, don't get me wrong, I hibby scrub myself from top to bottom, but I would just be really worried then if they then had a case at time. I can't do it to them. So I was like, I can't go.
Oh, no.
My life's over. I hate COVID. I hate it.
Oh.
Poor fish. I don't know how he puts up with it. I was all right after half an hour. Fine.
So tell us more about all the King's horses. What was the we touched on it briefly earlier, but what was the whole driver behind?
Yeah, so I kind of it all started because I had a rider that came in to hospital, and they'd come in. We have an area, every hospital has an area where the ambulances sort of decamp, and then people will do a quick assessment to say, how sick are you? Like, are you just about to die? Let's chuck you into resus. You can wait forever. You don't need to be on a bed. Get on a chair and go and sit in the waiting room, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And this rider had come in and she'd had a rotational fall. And she looked okay, but nobody had kind of picked up the fact that actually that was a rotational fall. To be fair, she did not describe it very well.
Okay.
But it pissed me off, because I'm just like, come on, guys. Like, this is like, if she'd have come in and said, I was on a motorbike and I was doing 25 miles an hour and I came off the motorbike and I went over the handlebars and it threw me 20 foot down the road, she'd have had a full trauma call. She'd have been a standby call, full trauma call. A trauma call means that there's an A&E consultant, a general surgeon, an orthopedic surgeon, x-rays there, CT goes on standby, a theatre goes on standby, everything stopped ready in case this person needs something right now. Anaesthetist is there, and it's just like, you've got more mechanism than maybe somebody that tumbled down from the top of the stairs, yet you're just sat there. Anyway, she did get it because I pulled her into resus and put a trauma call out, but I just got a bit cross about our understanding. And then I kind of I worked initially from the view of kind of educating the doctors about riders, but they're just generally a bit like, why would you want to do that? Like, why do you want to ride? They don't get it. Like, they don't get it. And the thing is our sport is not on the TV every week like rugby, where they see the clashes and go, oh yeah, that could prang your spleen. They get that because they see it, but they don't see it with horses. If they see it, they see the Grand National or whatever. Like, they don't. So I thought, well, actually, probably better to try and educate the riders so that the riders describe their injuries in such a way that it does trigger a trauma call. Not if it doesn't need to, but they're better at describing their injuries and share a bit of the responsibility about the communication.
Yeah.
So I started the page, and I started it in just at the beginning of COVID. And so we started with 0. And we're now I think we're about 200 or 4,000 followers. So it's going really well. And I was getting common questions then. So I did a first couple of videos were on how to describe your injury, which is dreadful because it's my first video. I need to redo it. It's dreadful. But it had like 45,000 views.
Wow.
And then I did one on Raynaud's, so that when your fingers go white, you can unwhite them. And that got 50,000 views. And I was like, actually, probably people would be quite interested in the medical side as well.
Yeah.
So then I started the kind of medical Monday. So each Monday I try and put something on that I think would be interesting. So this week we did teeth. So if you knock your tooth out, what do? You pick it, lick it and stick it.
I couldn't believe that when I saw it. I was like, oh my God.
I know. I have to send the pictures to Ria and say, how bad is this? And then she'll be like, are you going to put some writing with it? Yes. What about it with this? Is that okay? Yeah, that's okay. So I use Ria as my barometer of how bad is this.
Excellent.
Although I think I was bordering with the teeth. See, because I don't see the goriness. So we do a medical Monday, and we do something that I think is probably useful, or something that somebody's asked and I've thought, actually, that would be quite useful for people to know. And then obviously we run the rider clinic every month, which is an opportunity for people to either come on or anonymously put questions in, where we can discuss them with either an expert in that field or me, or depending on who's coming on. So we've got quite a lot of exciting stuff coming on. We've got a really good rider clinic coming up. I just need to decide on the date with about head injury, concussion syndrome. So there's no point me going into all the like ins and outs of a serious head injury, because that person's not going to try and get back on a horse for a while anyway. But concussion is really important. So I've got, looks like I have a neurosurgeon that will come on and chat with us as well. Mm-hmm. And then because we're getting bigger, all of the stuff that I'm getting offered, apart from obviously Tracy, because I need that, I am then trying to pay forward. So that was my COVID thing, that try and pay stuff forward. So if you do get stuff, try and give it back to the people that are making the page successful. So I've had an amazing donation of, I'm sure you can guess what it is, but I won't say, from Champion.
Oh,
for the head injury clinic. So it's really good that some of the industry, are starting to get behind the rider clinic, and that we can actually, then look at saying, okay, well, somebody that watches this can have this. And then I will do a rider clinic extra live if it's appropriate. So we've just done the Restart the Heart. Which
yes, I saw that.
So happy with it. Because it was International Start a Heart Day on the 16th of October. So we did it from the barn, and I invited Vic Bodie from Equiboodle and Ria from Ria Freeman PR on, and I taught them CPR in an hour with the ponies, and yeah, it was great fun. So it's going really, really well. But the whole basis of it really is to start. I am just at the moment registering a charity called All the King's Horses.
Oh, wow.
Which will be for riders that are challenged in some way. So that doesn't mean that they have to be physically or mentally challenged, but obviously we would consider them as people that we can help. But also if somebody's financially challenged or socially challenged, that they don't have the opportunity to carry on with riding or have an experience of riding. So we will be there to try and fill the gap in that way. And then I definitely want a string of All the King's Horses. So the money will go to support RDA ponies. So I would like to take on the financial cost of, a string of RDA ponies. I'm not saying I can go and find them and pick the right pony. I can't. But what we can do as a charity is each year, depending on how much money we make, we can say, well, okay, we can support 10 ponies this year. So we'll support 2 in that centre, whatever. But I think we can certainly help people.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And, it's not like you've already done enough for COVID. I mean, you've worked through it anyway, but then to go above and beyond to do all of this, that's just fantastic.
It's incredibly rewarding. Like, I'm not a martyr. I find it incredibly rewarding, and the support that I'm getting through the page is huge. Like, I have made genuine friends that I have never met, and I never thought that I would do. But when I try not to do the whole pity party thing. I try not to put on if I'm a bit wobbly. I think a couple of times it might come across in my stories if I am a little bit wobbly, and the support I get is immense. It's immense.
Yeah.
And it's so nice to know that you've got all those people that genuinely want you to do well. It just puts you in a position where you can succeed, doesn't it? And I hope so. So Team GB, open up.
You've mentioned this the second time you've said that. Is your goal?
Of course I'm going for that. Of course I am. Come on. I mean, my horses aren't good enough, clearly. But, never say never.
Well, you mentioned that one of them had an amazing walk. And,
he
says, the man himself, he says, start with the walk. If the walk's amazing, that's brilliant. You can work on the rest.
I am after him, big time. I am after Carl Hester. His name appears on my lists. I need a patron. I want a patron.
Yes.
I really want Carl Hester.
Yes.
So I'm really sorry if I don't get him and I ask someone else.
Well, that
will be awkward. That will be really awkward.
Shall I edit this bit out just in case?
No, he needs to check his email. I have emailed him. No, I would. I like him. I like him a lot. And it's not just dressage, because I kind of followed him prior to becoming interested in dressage. I just think he is such an advocate for equestrianism. I like his story. I like the way that he comes across. I've seen him do a demo at Hartbury. I went down to a dressage. What is it? It's like the annual chat. I don't know what it's called.
Oh, it's the dressage conference.
Yeah, I went to one of those because I didn't know anything about dressage. So I went with some friends from the yard. I was like, okay, I'll go. And do you know what was the best? Probably the best one for me to go to, because he was like, you don't need a fancy horse. You just need a horse that will do the best that it can do. Exactly. And that made a big difference to me, because I was going down, and the girls that I were going with love them dearly, but they've all got unlimited money and they've got amazing horses, and if the horse isn't right, they can buy another horse. I'm certainly not in that position. I have to work numerous extra shifts on top of my 60, 70 hours a week to afford the horses. So, you know, it would just made me realise that you don't need a warm blood.
Absolutely.
You've just got to get that horse to do the best it can do, and if it shows that, it will blow any horse out of the water. I like him for that.
It's the partnership between the horse and rider that really counts. You know, I mean, I used to, a couple of times I took my horse over to near where Nerody lives, and she's given me a few training sessions ahead of I did the regional championships a few years ago.
Amazing. Well done.
Yeah, it was a bit scary. Because he is
a bit like
14-2 ginger cob, and there was all these great big warm blood.
How many wheeze did you do before you went into that test?
How many
wheeze? I'd have done like 11.
Me, it wasn't just weird.
Oh, bless you. Yeah, I would have been
scary.
How did you get on?
Yeah. Okay. Look it up.
Yeah, you did well though. Well done.
Was being there, you know, because we got the points so we just kind of scraped through. But I was like, no, we qualified.
There's a mark. There's a mark to get there. It doesn't matter what your mark was. You get the mark to get there. And any of those horses that were the flashy pants that would win every time, you know, they're not, that's the thing you've got to remember. They're not those horses. They're not easy horses to ride.
No, God,
Your horse probably went there, like them on a good day, if they do their very best, they're going to blow everyone. This is how I look at it anyway. They're going to blow everyone out of the water anyway. But do you know what? The chance of your horse having a good day and your horse's chance of having a good day is higher.
Because definitely. We had the most amazing time. I mean, it was live streamed on the internet, so my mum was
no way. Did you get one of those little plaque things for the stable?
I did, yes.
I want one of them really bad. I could order one.
I need to give them a bit of a polish, actually. They got a bit dirty. But it was incredible. It really was. And you know, he was a little monkey.
Yeah, that's okay.
You know, his eyes were out on stalks. His ears went up my nostrils a few times, you know, coming down the centre line. Oh, my God.
Oh,
I've never seen anything like it in his life. But you know what? We did every single movement. He did it. We both did it to the best of our ability. And as I came out of the arena, and I was just overcome with emotion, and the girl after me was walking in on her big flashy warm blood, and I said to her, "Oh, good luck," and she went, "Oh, well done, that was great."
Oh, bless
really genuine. I cried all the way back to the lorry park.
Oh,
it was so emotional that, you know, because I'm going to have Jeffrey for life. He's the one, you know. I love him like you. I absolutely adore him to bits, and I could never sell him or get another horse, you know, to replace him or anything. And it just, the whole thing just meant so much to have achieved that.
It's cute. But it's interesting what you say about, like, with him, because we had this conversation before we bought Winnie, because when Sid went lame, so I ended up with no horse, that's when we bought Win.
Yeah.
And I was a bit really reticent. Like, you would think that if your husband says, okay, well, we'll just buy you another horse, that everyone would be like, yes. I was really like, no. Because really, if I'm honest, I should have sold Bamba, my first horse. I should have sold her, because we're still, like, you know, we're 5 years down the line and I don't compete her. And I very rarely ride her. I do ride her, but it's rare. And it's so, the problem is when I bought mine, like, they're pets, aren't they?
Yeah.
The thing when you know, they're pets.
Yeah.
So therefore, like, if your dog was a bit lame or whatever. Like, that's the difficulty, isn't it? What do? Do you get rid of it and get another dog?
No,
You don't, do you? It's so hard. So when I got Win, I said to Stuart, okay, well, I'll look at another horse. However, I will look at her every year on this date and I will make a decision about whether she's doing what she needs to do to stay in the stable. It's all bullshit, really. I'm never going to get rid of her. But do you know what I mean? It's hard because otherwise you end up with like hundreds of the buggers, don't you?
No, well, we couldn't.
No, I know, but it's so difficult because I know my sister sold a horse recently. And she's a collector. She's not a seller. She was heartbroken.
Oh.
But they just didn't gel. Like, they were on the ground, they did, but ridden, he realistically was too small for her. And he just was a really sort of short pony trot. And she's used to her halflingers and having a lot more in front of her. And he was quite slender in the neck. So she just wasn't. And do you know what? She was so brave to do it. So brave when people sell horses that aren't right for them. And then she gets all these updates now. He's with somebody and they do absolutely gel ridden. And it works a treat, but I just,
It's such a hard process, isn't it?
Really difficult. And I don't think people give any like stock to that. It's just like, oh yeah, they're selling that one. She sold it. It's like, oh God.
I'm like cutting off my right arm.
Yeah, that person's in absolute bits and it's probably cried for like a year and it's probably kept the thing for like years longer than they should have done.
Exactly. But people do, don't they? A friend of mine did that recently. She had a youngster and she just wasn't quite right for her. But she looked lovely. They look great together, but she just wasn't feeling it.
Feel right, then it will feel. That's the thing I think we have to remember. Like that feeling of it feeling right, it will do with another horse. So give that horse the opportunity to have that with somebody else, isn't it? Because there will be somebody that sits on it and goes, "Oh, there we go.
That's the one for me."
Magic, yeah. But it's a funny old game. It's a funny old game, this horse game.
It really is. Now, where can we find out more about you? Where are you on Facebook and Instagram?
Yeah, so I'm only on Facebook and Instagram. I can only cope with 2, and that's a stretch. So on Facebook, I am All the King's Horses, and the same on Instagram. It's just got some weird dashes in, and you'll see me and a picture. I think on both of them, I'm on Sid, so competing on a dappled grey horse.
That's lovely. Well, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for asking me on. I'm really not that interesting.
No, you are.
Not that interesting.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Dressage Anywhere podcast. Dressage Anywhere is an online platform where you can upload your dressage test videos and enter competitions with other riders from around the world. Find out more about us at dressageanywhere.com, Dressage Anywhere on Facebook, Dressage_Anywhere on Instagram, and Dressage_comp on Twitter.